I'm Bridget Phetasy, and this is your dumpster fire for August 29th to September 4th.
And the unicorns dance while the world burns, world burns.
This episode is brought to you by Locals.com. Locals empowers creators like yours truly to publish their content, own our content, own your data, your subscriber list. Locals is where Phetasy.com is hosted, and it is an amazing platform for independent creators to stay independent. My community has robust dialogues about all kinds of different topics, and we also post memes and share dogs and share tragedies. It's really a magical place. And every community is different, which is what's great about Locals. Every community has its own personality dependent on who the creator is. Publish your content, engage with your supporters, and make money from subscriptions, all on Locals.com. Ding. And speaking of which, join Phetasy.com, my community, hosted by Locals.com. You will get the unedited version of Dumpster Fire every week, a day before the edited version drops. You'll have a whole community, and man, it has blown me away with how supportive and wonderful, and it seems to be transcending politics, and just really people are creating real relationships in there, and that it is really what the promise of the internet was in the beginning, as Z-Dog, who's another creator, mentioned when I interviewed him this week. Dumpster Fire 68 coming at ya.
And we are going to take a break in between this week.
I know, everyone's so mad.
Like, are you taking a break?
They're like, they're going to torture us before episode 69.
Everyone's been so excited for episode 69.
You'd be really disappointed by episode 69.
I wonder what
I don't
Karen's
know what you guys are
gonna
expecting. Like Sam and I just scissoring.
I know. Do you expect this to turn into an OnlyFans show?
I don't know what they want from us. Tell Maggie in the comments what you want for episode 69. What should we do to please you, our audience, for episode 69? Keep it clean. This is a family show. Children watch this.
Here we go. Gaffe in chief. Biden checks his watch during the ceremony honoring our fallen service members.
Checking time. At an inappropriate hour, the Bidens were present at the Dover Air Force Base.
Look, maybe his watch has a day counter on it, and he just needed to know what day it was. He was like, is it still Tuesday? It's Tuesday. Where am I? What's going on? This whole story was ridiculous because all of the media decided to say that he wasn't actually checking his watch. Many people in the media. And then they all had to come back and retract what they said or fact check themselves. And were like, actually, he was checking his watch. Do your job, journalists. Don't try and backtrack and make it what you wanted to believe. Just because someone in the horrible right-wing media calls something out doesn't mean that you need to try and make sense of it. Everybody does this on the right wing too. When their side does something bad, they try and reverse engineer what's actually happening to make it something that is acceptable. And this was just rude to all the families. Yeah. So rude. Yeah.
It was just stupid. And I just feel like there's no reason for him to be looking at his watch at all, because it's not like he's like, oh, I've got to get to my next meeting at, in 10 minutes. He has people keeping his schedule. He has handlers moving him from one thing to the next. That is all not something a president ever needs to worry about.
Freaking weekend at Biden's. This guy doesn't have to think about anywhere that he's going. He just shows up and wanders around.
But that's true of all presidents. They are shuffled from place to place.
But especially this one. Maybe he's checking his pulse, guys. I don't know. Maybe it's like an iPhone, an iWatch.
Like still going? Still going?
He has his hand on his heart and he's like checking his heart rate.
But it wasn't even one time. It was like every time.
I mean,
they draped a coffin.
I try to give the benefit of the doubt in it. I don't like to have the worst interpretation of everyone's actions, which is easy to jump to, but this was just rude. It's just rude.
Yeah. Then we've got more Afghanistan messes. Very few hundreds of U.S. citizens were left behind.
General McKenzie said this. Very few hundreds. How are these the people in charge? Very few hundreds. That's like you're talking to a baby.
Yeah.
It's like child speak.
They're trying to minimize the like sound of the number,
Yeah.
but they could have just said like a few hundred.
Very few hundreds.
It makes it sound like, oh,
Creepy.
are you?
It's creepy
you're-
1984 speak.
You're trying to fudge the number or lie to me in some way.
Yeah, it's like spin within a sentence. It's very uncomfortable. I'm not okay with this.
And then the Taliban checks out our equipment, but don't worry, the Pentagon says the equipment is unusable.
Taliban's out there doing it for the gram. Just parading around in all of our military equipment. They have the parade that Trump wanted, the Taliban. It would be amazing if in those videos Trump came, they had like Trump 2024 banners, and then Trump comes up behind on the parade.
We have some folks in Afghanistan, right?
And he's like, this is Sleepy Joe's fault. I told you guys what would happen, and this is what happened. And now I have my military parade, and I'm the king of Afghanistan.
I just see him watching it like on television, pouting and being like, see, why couldn't they do something like this for me?
Yeah, he's jealous. He's somewhere out there, like, mad.
It's not that hard to put parades together if the Taliban can do it.
It would have been amazing if it was just him, like a princess on a float.
With a sash and a crown. King of Afghanistan. Oh, boy. A BDE for the vets, though. A private group of U.S. veterans called the Pineapple Express have gone into Afghanistan on their own and rescued 500 people.
Yeah, that's awesome. But why the hell did they name it after freaking a Seth Rogan movie for their intensely serious mission to go rescue humans?
Don't. Just something quick like that. Yeah.
I don't know. Naming it Argo would have been giving it away, I guess.
Yeah. Argo too.
It just seems like such a dumb name for something so serious. Were they all high? They're out there just like taking the opium fields, not even getting the people.
Actually,
I think that kind of fits.
that holds water.
Is you light all three ends at the same time, creating a trifecta of joint smoking power.
Well, good for them, though.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah. I mean, if I was a former Green Beret and had access to whatever, I would try and do that, too.
To some serious skills.
Some skills. I mean, Glenn Beck got some people out, too.
Yeah.
Some Christians. Christians. They're like, this is my yoga mat.
Then we've got Get Wrecked, China.
Get wrecked, China.
China bans men it sees as not masculine enough for TV. Broadcasters are ordered to resolutely put an end to sissy men and other abnormal aesthetics by the Communist Broadcast Regulator.
What the f***? I love China now. I could get behind this movement. Get rid of all the sissy men. I feel like my theory is that China is, because they own TikTok and it's Chinese spyware, they're watching everything that we're putting on TikTok in America, and they're like, okay, whatever that is, let's do the opposite.
Yeah.
The opposite of all of this. Cut to libs of TikTok montage.
This is our mentalkingtoomuch.com.
The communist cabin, where everyone is equal.
What does being gender fade mean?
It's socially constructed.
Babies don't choose their gender when they're born.
Uh-huh.
Like,
For real.
They're like, see all this?
No.
Banned. We are banning this shit from our culture.
Get it out.
Get it out. Get it out.
Their insulting term for effeminate men is kind of hilarious. Nyang Pao, or literally girly guns.
I've got some Nyang Pao. Hey.
You got a lot of Nyang Pao in this place.
It's funny. So this is all about them trying to make Chinese men be perceived as masculine?
I guess so.
Have they ever been perceived as masculine?
Oh.
That's just a question.
It's
an honest question. China doesn't want any weakness.
No.
Perceived weakness. I mean, BTS is fucked. What are they going to do? Is this what they're reacting to? Is like the Korean, Japanese, all the like girly, effeminate boy bands?
The influence.
We would have been so much better off if we had banned those Justin Timberlake boy bands.
It's true.
As a culture.
Backstreet's back, all right.
It's true.
That was really when we turned to Dark Corner. We went from grunge to that.
Ugh. All right. And then China restricts online gaming for children to 3 hours a week.
They're really cracking down socially.
Yeah, they really are.
Sucks to be a kid in China.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sucks to be a little effeminate kid in China, apparently.
Yeah, what are they going to do?
Now you've got to be manly. You can't play your video games.
They got rid of all the women. All that's left is war. They're creating a giant army.
They're getting ready.
The only thing that these guys can do is fight. That's the only place all of this masculine aggression is going to go. Like, subscribe, and comment. Touch my bells and buttons. Make sure you go follow us on Rumble, where you'll see all of this earlier than you'll find it on YouTube.
Make Orwell fiction again. Australia's draconian lockdown continues.
So Australia is developing this app where you have to, their government will text you and you have to respond within 15 minutes with a picture of your face and your location of where you're supposed to be. And there's going to be facial recognition, I believe.
Yeah.
It's so creepy and dystopian. I can't even get my mind around it. And clearly, no one in Australia has ever heard of naps. Because what kind of rule is 15 minutes? I mean, that's just assuming everyone has a phone. People with flip phones, they're in the freaking gulag. Forget it. They're in quarantine. If you are away from your phone for 15 minutes, Maggie would be in jail in like the first day.
I would be so... No way. I don't check my phone very often.
Yeah.
What if you're taking a long shower?
Australia continues to become the psycho-abusive person that you were in a relationship with, where they're just texting you, like, you up? I know where you live. Like, when you don't respond in 15 minutes, they're like, I'm coming over. Are you cheating on me?
Where are you?
Who are you with?
Yeah.
So let me in the fucking house!
It's ridiculous. Australia is wilding out.
And they're like so proud of this. They're rolling it out, just being like, isn't this fantastic?
No.
There was a video that went viral this past week of an Australian dude on a freaking paddleboard, and this giant snake comes up to him.
He's just come straight at me again. Oh, how intimidating is this? Hey. Hey. Come on, mate.
And he is like, look how intimidating it is. Like, the intimidation. And is like, it pulls a freaking Crocodile Dundee on the snake and it just goes away. And I cannot, the cognitive dissonance in my brain that these are the people that are accepting this authoritarian nonsense into their life and somehow plotting it, cheering for it, and not seeing it is too much for me to handle.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
That snake is like the government coming to check on him. They're like, excuse us.
Enemy spotted.
Making sure everything's shipshape around
Our
here.
drones are birds and theirs are snakes in Australia. You up? It's the government coming to look for you. You didn't respond in 15 minutes.
South Australia dropped the upcoming vaccine requirement for truckers in the wake of protests and freight delays.
Yeah, can't f with the truckers, man.
No.
They're like, okay, whatever you guys want. If the truckers basically strike, America is fucked. So truckers out there, unite and strike against something that is important to you.
Truckers make the world go round.
I saw two people vaccinating each other in a parking lot in Australia. Heyo.
All right. Then we have the patriarchy so crafty. Texas law banning abortion as early as 6 weeks goes into effect as the U.S. Supreme Court takes no action.
I hate the abortion debate. I hate it.
Yeah.
There's certain news cycles that are like herpes. They just like have these flare-ups in the culture, and I hate them. I hate this debate. I hate it so much for so many reasons. There's no way to talk about it without pissing everyone off.
Yep.
Particularly if you fall where actually most Americans fall, which is somewhere in the middle, in the squishy, uncomfortable middle. The way that it's framed on the left as just this decision that has no moral complications always bothers me, because it's something that I think a lot of women wrestle with, and acting like people are just skipping off to the clinic like they're going to get some freaking cough drops from CVS is not honest.
Yep.
And then on the right, the like baby killer rhetoric is never helpful. I fucking hate that it's always framed around the woman. There's never any conversation about what men could do to prevent this. Get a vasectomy. Here's my idea. Get a vasectomy until you're ready to have children. And then when you're ready to have a child, you can untuck your dick.
Reverse. That's not what happens.
I know.
That's where the effeminate men come
We're
from.
just not really sure what a vasectomy is she?
I know what it is.
Vasectomy involves closing the tubes that carry sperm from the testicles to the penis.
I hate this conversation so much. I hate it. I hate the abortion debate with every bone in my female body. I hate that it's so centered around what women need to be doing or not doing, or what horrible medical procedures they need to have in order to prevent this. It's never about what men can do to prevent it. And then around this debate in Texas, the whole idea that there are these narcs getting paid $10,000. Why don't you rat out the dude who got the chick pregnant, huh? Why is it only about the girl?
Yeah.
This is what drives me crazy. Also, that practice is horrible.
I don't understand how this law is insane in its like draconian ability to sue abortion providers, anyone who helps a woman obtain abortion, including like the Uber driver who took her to the clinic.
Yeah.
So how is that not a law that's grounds for the Supreme Court to like take action on? Because it seems like an infringement on a person's personal rights.
Yeah, a person's personal rights. It also seems like an infringement on a business's right. And it's weird with all of this conversation around vaccine mandates and the state of Texas suing for children not to wear masks. It's like there's so much hypocrisy in our culture. And on the left, there's so much confusion because now you've just handed the right wing a talking point on a silver platter where they'll say something like Jen Psaki this week said, you know, you're not a woman, you wouldn't understand.
I know you've never faced those choices, nor have you ever been pregnant, but for women out there who have faced those choices, this is an incredibly difficult thing.
And then everyone was like, I'm sorry, I was told that men can have babies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you gave them this. You gave them this on a fucking platter. So you, left wing, you disorganized idiots. And then if you're going to make this big argument about personal choice around medical, why does that end when it comes to vaccines? That doesn't make any sense to me. I get it more from the right wing because they believe you're killing a baby. So they make the distinction of like, well, vaccines aren't killing a baby. I don't necessarily agree with it, but that's their distinction. But on the left, it's like you can't argue for bodily autonomy and then say that ends when somebody doesn't want to get a vaccine.
Yeah.
Because, but their argument is we live in a society and you're killing people. You're killing grandma. It's all the same argument. And meanwhile, everyone's trying to control the language around women's bodies. You have it makes me want to rip my fucking hair out, the left and the right. And then everyone seems to know what a woman is on the left when suddenly the abortion debate comes up. Right. And you've been erasing us for like years. I can't. This debate gets worse. And it's so much more extreme. And when you look at the numbers, Americans are pretty split about it. I don't know. I'm very squishy on it. I'm like, I'm ambivalent, which doesn't help anything either, of course. You can't really be like, I'm pro-choice, but. Mm-hmm. Although I think that's where most Americans land. Most Americans are like, yeah, within the first trimester.
Yeah.
The abortion debate makes me completely done with both parties. I'm like, I'm done with all of you because you're so dishonest. And the minute you need to use the completely reverse argument of whatever you claim your principles are and that you're fighting for, you'll freaking abandon it and and abandon everybody with it behind you. I'm very like pro-life in the sheets and pro-choice in the streets. Like, you do what you need to do for yourself. I don't like really policing other people's medical decisions. I'm very consistent on this with vaccines, with very early term abortions. I know this is like a segment that will piss everyone off, and I'm totally okay with that. I've seen really actually in the Phetasy community kind, loving, and nuanced conversations happening about this. And I think people are able to have those conversations when they feel safe and they don't feel like they're going to be attacked and they don't feel like they're going to get called a baby killer or they're going to get called, you know, some right-wing religious nutbag. I can understand both sides of the argument. I live kind of in that weird in-between myself. I think, from my perspective, this is just Texas trying to get rid of all the libs moving to their state. They're like, we're trying to get rid of all those Californians coming, and here's how we're going to do it. We're going to ban abortions.
But it's a social experiment, and as Better Phetasy said in the writer's room, this is the way to turn a purple state blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could backfire.
Yeah.
Definitely. If you're an independent, many independents, I think, still lean more towards pro-choice. And if you're an independent, I think this would push you to vote more blue. Again, the hypocrisy. Like, Texas stops giving a shit about kids the minute they're freaking born.
Boy, these conservatives are really something, aren't they? And they will do anything for the unborn. But once you're born, you're on your own.
There's got to be a way to reframe this. Like, maybe if I'm like, oh, the baby was... this thing was trespassing in my vagina.
In my
and I had to kill it.
That's dark.
I know. It's a stand your ground law.
This baby has no rights to take up residence in my uterus.
This thing was trespassing in my uterus, and I had to use force to make sure that I was safe. It was self-defense, really.
It wouldn't leave.
We're going to get little undies made that are like, we don't call the police, we shoot first. No trespassing undies. I tried to warn you. Tell Maggie your thoughts on abortion in the comments.
She would love to hear them.
Tell her how angry this segment made you, and tell her in a long diatribe what you believe about baby killers.
Send your abortion manifestos.
Send your abortion manifestos to Maggie, and maybe Maggie will self-abort next to it.
On the 69th episode, they're going to be like, tragically, Maggie took her own life from reading the YouTube comments last week.
Maggie sadly is no longer with us, thanks to your abortion manifestos. Rest in peace, Maggie.
Parade of morons. Anti-vaxxers disrupted and shut down several vaccine drives in Georgia.
These f***s. I swear to God. I love how it's like, my body, my choice, your body, also my choice.
This real.
This is like the whole freaking Republican Party's stance on things lately. They're just everyone's a hypocrite. I mean, I'm a hypocrite too. We're all hypocrites. That's Jonathan Haidt. Just acknowledge that we're all self-righteous hypocrites and everything will be fine. Yeah, these people are fucking lunatics.
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? You don't get to run around and say that this is like personal choice and yell about how you've got body autonomy and we get to make choices for our body and then not allow other people to make those choices for themselves. It's such stupidity. It's like the level of stupidity that is existing in this country right now is so unsettling. Armies of effeminate Chinese men will be able to take over this country.
Yeah, because it's just run by a bunch of morons! 3 Vancouver public schools were placed on lockdown today after anti-mask demonstrators tried to gain access to the Skyview High School campus.
Everyone who's trying to make these arguments is really just undermining their arguments with like this. Hey kids, after we do the school shooter drill, we're gonna lock down the school from the parents trying to take over the schools. The crazy freaking parents and Proud Boys, apparently.
Oh, God.
But who knows? They call everyone wearing a freaking black shirt a Proud Boy. Show me how much you care about children by terrorizing the children and then shutting down their school and disrupting their school day as if they haven't missed enough school. These poor kids. Well, they have every right to hate us when we grow up. I don't blame them. Just like, go get a f***ing life.
Everything is racist. A Chrome browser extension lets you see if progressive rhetoric is actually a liberal.
I mean, this is how you can find out that everything is, in fact, racist.
As we've been saying.
For real.
So the browser is supposed to allow you to, like, plug in. It basically reframes a headline that would be like, white men must be stopped. The very future of mankind depends on it. It swaps in like black men must be stopped. And if that's considered racist when you read it, then apparently the headline is in fact racist, which, as we've been saying,
the creator of this extension is Larry Elder. After that last ridiculous
that LA Times article.
That's just wild when you actually do see it. When you do see those reversed.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I'm not comfortable with this.
No.
I just don't think we should be dehumanizing anyone. Call me crazy.
Let's not be separating people based on the color of their skin and categorizing them that way.
Yeah, it's the sprinkle everything with race and watch everyone tear each other apart. That's what the elites will have us do, right, Sammy?
That's right.
Leading us to Conspiracy Corner with Sammy Flaps and Folds.
All right, Sammy.
Oh, boy. Well, back a while ago, whenever I talked about the UN and the World Health Organization, we're going to be making their digital ID wallets. You store everything on an app on your phone.
Medical records from allergies to vaccinations, making any transfer to another organization a breeze.
Now, they've published a guidance document for countries on the introduction of a vaccine passport, funded by whom? None other than the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Sam's favorite people.
And then Jen Psaki also confessed to a global plandemic.
I love how she confessed.
And our efforts to address the global plandemic.
I just saw that clip and I was like, oh, shit. I know this is going to drive the conspiracy. I was like, at Samantha Shahi.
I know.
It
was great.
And my phone should be blowing up with a text from Sam in 3, 2.
Nice Freudian slip, Jen. We know what you're really talking about. Although every day I do see the light and continue to stockpile food and water, guns and ammo.
All right. Then we have dumpster diving.
What's next? In the dumpster.
Sweet Green CEO. Vaccines and masks will not save us, but salads might.
So fucking weird. This is what you have to do to sell a salad. It's like a weird capitalism always winning. I feel like that's a really long game, too. It's not like you're just going to start eating salads and, like, lose the... He's basically like, listen up, fatties. You don't want to die? Eat some salads. That's like a two-year plan.
I know. It's not like a week later, I'm cured of COVID or whatever.
Listen, fatties, it's vaccines or salads. Pick your poison. I bet the fatties are like, we'll take the vaccine. Maybe it's like his way of tricking people into getting vaccinated.
Yep.
Vaccinated. Vaccinated.
All right. Then we have Yuri, the infamous man who married his sex doll, is in love with an ashtray now. God, this f***ing guy.
He just wants attention.
Yeah.
I refuse to give it to him. Yuri, you're no longer getting into the dumpster fire with us. You're going to have to sink pretty low. I mean, he fell in love with an ashtray.
I know.
An ashtray.
That's pretty low.
What is wrong with this mentally ill person we keep giving attention to?
And it was in like a club.
Yeah, he fell in love with it doing a paid like photo shoot.
Yeah, he said he liked the way that like ashes felt on his body.
Stained my bare feet and body and beard.
And he loved pulling out the cigarette butts.
Is this just like all people mistranslating what he's saying?
I think he's just mentally ill.
This guy moves to West Hollywood and he'll be swimming in butt pussy. He'd be just killing it. Just move to West Hollywood, dude. You don't need to go through all of this. You don't need to put a vagina on an ashtray.
And then another mentally ill man throws his penis out of a car while fleeing police. Says he cut it off to save the world.
I mean, this is someone who's really internalized the matriarchy. This is internalized feminism.
Yeah, he said the voice on the radio told him to do it.
That was me.
He was listening to Dumpster Fire.
Oh, Lord, that's all
cut your dick off. Save the world and cut your dick off. What did he cut it off with, too?
Who knows?
I don't want to know. All right, and then finally, this one's for Sam. The murder hornets are back.
Oh, thank God.
We miss the halcyon days of the murder hornets.
Officials with the WSDA say the second nest was 3 times bigger.
I think that means things will get better, right?
They seem to be getting angrier.
They're murder hornets, Sam. Murder hornets.
Another problem from China.
These things are like as big as your thumb. They're gnarly.
Ugh.
Breaking Bridget. Someone has been arrested for the Wee Spa indecent exposure complaints.
I fucking hate this story. Again, another incident where you had the mainstream left-wing media establishment running with the idea that this was a hoax. Slate said it was a hoax. They said that this viral video that happened on June 24th, it was a video of a woman going after a man and saying that he had been basically indecently exposed in this woman's part of a spa.
We spa, so it's okay. I just want to be clear with you. It's okay for a man to go into the women's section, show his penis around the other women, young little girls underage.
In front of young women, children, and they were uncomfortable. And then everyone said it was a right-wing hoax. There was a big push that this was some hoax, that somebody went in there and they did this. And then 2 months of protests have happened down there. 2 people were stabbed. It's been crazy. That's always framed as these right-wing. There was a great line in the Guardian article where it was like, women who had signs that said, keep women's spaces safe, were flanked by Proud Boys or something like that. I'm like, the irony of that is hilarious because they're super like men's rights and stuff. It's been a disaster, protests and violence, and all because people were trying to say that this was like a transphobic hoax to try and make trans people look bad. Well, flash forward to recently, and 5 days ago, quietly, charges were pressed against a man who identifies as a woman, who just also so happens to be a sex offender with 2 counts from 2002 and 3 or 3 and 4 and 6 pending from 2018 and now has 5 more. 4 women and a minor filed complaints from the Wee Spa incident. This is insane that people are defending this person as the victim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, how broken are we as a culture? I don't know how you get to a place where you're defending this other than a cult-like mentality or fear.
Yeah.
Where you're defending that the person who did this, who is like erect in a woman's spa, that was what the accusation was.
Exposing his penis to teenage girls. Or her penis, whatever you want to say.
Even if you believe that you're a woman or you are a trans woman, the fact that you can't empathize with the fear that you're putting these people in, the fact that you can't empathize with how the women and children might feel in these spaces and that you're going to turn everything around and make it all about you is just evidence of narcissism and psychopathy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not... and total lack of empathy and make it all about you and you're the victim. It's always like reframing all of this argument so that we can diminish the way that women and children feel in these situations and they have to take a back seat to biological males.
Yeah.
And I mean, it makes it like this does break me.
Yeah.
And on top of all of it, this person also had so many felonies.
Yeah.
And you're getting to a place where you're defending a sexual predator.
Yeah.
It makes me want to kill people.
It makes me violent. Yeah. The fact that you can't see how this might cause harm to people because a 12-year-old girl doesn't want to see an erect penis in a spa. You're defending that.
Right.
Like, just be clear that that's what you're defending.
Right.
And then shut the up about how you care about women's rights because you actually don't give a shit about women's rights at all.
Or protecting children and how that girl might be scarred by this experience.
No, there's never any concern for other people. Women and children are always put at the back seat of sociopaths and predators who are manipulating this so that they can be fucking psychopaths.
Right.
And I'm not saying this is true in every single instance, obviously. And so, of course, this freaking sex offender is now approaching Scott Wiener, none other than the guy that we covered last week, who has the whole law so that men can go in women's prisons. And he's approaching him to try and lobby him so that there is an indecent exposure exemption
for trans.
Go f yourself.
Yeah. So that anytime that you're in a place like a spa and you're trans, there's no indecent exposure.
No. Absolutely not. get the fuck out of here.
It like breaks me. I just... And just the way that it was spun as a hoax, and now everybody's having to retract it, and even the reporter is like, "I regret to retract it." And he's a trans reporter. They are, but it's an activist posing as a reporter, and we need to push back against this. I'm sorry. If it makes me a TERF, it makes me a TERF. Like, go. I think if you're a decent freaking human being and you're a trans woman, you would still be sensitive to some of the discomfort that people might be when they're just seeing a dick flopping around in a space that's supposed to be dick free.
I know, it's leading us to a very sick place as a society.
How do we even get here as a society? How?
It's
Well, the fact that we're even here is so mind-boggling to me. There are swaths of people defending a sex offender with the accusation that someone like me would be transphobic.
Yeah. It's not even at the place where the emperor has no clothes anymore. It's like other people are taking off their clothes and marching behind the emperor and being like, look at my beautiful clothes.
It's bad. If I was a predator and a fucking sociopath, I would be like, wow, they just handed me the keys to the kingdom. Prisons, spas, I can go anywhere I want. And if anybody calls me out for feeling uncomfortable, the whole society is going to get behind me, the psychopath, and call everyone else transphobic for pushing back. And California law made it so that spa couldn't even do anything that day when people were feeling uncomfortable.
Ugh.
I'm sorry. There need to be spaces where women feel safe.
Yeah.
It's literally getting to the point where it's like, suck a dick or you're a bigot. Like, look at my dick, bigot. I mean, go f*** yourself. For real. Just go f*** yourself forever. Call me a TERF. I don't care. I don't care. I'm standing up for women. Women! R.I.P. Mark Vasto. It means probably nothing to many of you, but he was a huge fan. I'm going to get emotional. Every dumpster fire I cry. Mark was a big fan of Dumpster Fire. He was in the Phetasy community, and he died very young, and he loved this show so much, and it kept him sane during the pandemic, and we had a memorial for him in the community. It was weird. Like, I've never met him. You know, he's a virtual friend, basically, from being in the community, but he got to know a lot of people in there, and was just a big personality. And we dedicate the show to you, Mark, at Senator, rest in peace. So now, to cleanse your palate from this very ranty dumpster fire, some internet is glorious.
Did you know if you replace your morning cup of coffee with a nice hot cup of green tea, that you can lose up to 87% of the fucking little joy you have left in this life?
Cut my jeans into pieces. These are my homemade jorts.
Phetasy News. We had Reed Coverdale on Walk-Ins Welcome, joining us to talk about trucking, podcasting, and the conversation that we're not having necessarily in the discussion versus on the ground. He's just a great, really young, interesting thinker. Check him out. He also has a podcast, and go check that out. We're on Rumble, so go check us out on Rumble if you're not watching this on Rumble. All of our stuff will be launched first on Rumble exclusively for hours before you can get it anywhere else. So go subscribe to us on Rumble. Dumpster Fire is now a podcast, so get us anywhere other than Apple because they suck. Check out Dumpster Fire, the podcast. You can catch up on anything you've missed. Join the community at Phetasy.com. Locals community at Phetasy.com. You get to watch a mostly unedited version of this on Sundays. And we have workouts and all kinds of drop-ins, and it's a whole fam. Join the fam. You can subscribe to my Substack, Politically Homeless, with Bridget Phetasy on Substack. That's free. You can also just sign up at Phetasy.com for free as well. So if you're trying to just keep track of us, those are two places to go. You can shop any of our merch at BridgetPhetasy.com. We have beanies. We have new shirts coming, tanks. This is my vaccine passport, mugs, all kinds of things. Thank you to Dave Yates, Andy Chandler, Matt Monroe, Better Phetasy, writers, contributors, editors. We cannot do this without them. It takes a village to raise a dumpster fire. Thank you, Cousin Maggie.
Thank you, Bridget.
Welcome back for the second week. We made it. Thank you, Sammy Flaps and Folds.
Thank you, Bridget.
Find Sammy online. Find all of our contributors online. Please give them a follow. Buy some hot sauce from Dave. Comment, share. The best thing you can do, honestly, is tell someone about us. That's really the best thing. You can share us and stuff on your social media, but if you're afraid because of our so crazy opinions, you can just tell your friends you think will appreciate this as much as you do about us. Thank you, supporters. Thank you, subscribers. Thank you, viewers. We love you. And thank you, Zen Pro Audio, for the mic. Go to Zen Pro Audio for all of your audio needs. This has been your Dumpster Fire for the week of August 29th to September 4th. I'm Bridget Phetasy. Now make